All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lunchtime Topics, where we feature business experts who share their wisdom with Savannah's startup and entrepreneurial community. I'm Kate with the Creative Coast in Savannah, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit that exists to serve the entrepreneurial community here in the coastal Georgia region, specifically grow the innovative economy. Today, we welcome the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center. Becky Brownlee is the area director of the UGA SBDC, and she is going to share a little bit of info about SBDC, their resources, opportunities, and programming. And I'm going to share a little bit about her right now. She's been a small business owner for over 20 years, and she's owned businesses from manufacturing and specialty retail, beauty and trade schools, health and fitness, agriculture and real estate, and construction. She's got a diverse background. And in addition to owning her own businesses, she's got lots of experience with financial, hospitality, and the insurance sectors. Mrs. Brownlee's businesses have encompassed both independent and franchise operations, and she specializes in financing and access to capital and all of those aspects of commercial real estate, which include site and space selection, building and land acquisition, and financing, lease negotiation, zoning, construction, and permitting. So all of that. And then we also have Nadia Osman, who is a business consultant at the University of Georgia SBDC, and she is here to talk about how to get your business noticed on Google. And specifically, she's going to talk about tools and tips to improve website performance and help your business appear across Google search and maps. And Nadia, a little bit about her. She joined the Small Business Development Center in 2020, and she has over a decade of experience designing, marketing, and implementing programs in the public and private sector. She is, in the public and private sector, partnerships, startups, nonprofits, and the U.S. Air Force. And that's all valued at over $6 billion. Her career prior to the UGA SBDC included developing affordable housing, new businesses, and public events in the central Georgia region, as well as launching the Shop Local Macon initiative, the area's first makerspace, and Georgia's first Young Entrepreneurs Academy. So we are so excited to have them both here today. They're going to share a wealth of knowledge with us, and that's what Lunchtime Topics are about. We get to introduce you to business owners who have been through it, or business experts who have been through different areas of business, and they have this wisdom to share with people who are new to starting a company or growing a business. So I'm not going to stand on the stage anymore. I want to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Brownlee and Ms. Osman. So thank you both for being here. And Becky, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate that. So let's take a look at what our agenda is for the day. I'm going to just briefly tell you about the UGA SBDC. Then I'm going to turn it over to Nadia, and she's got three main topics for the discussion. She's going to discuss how the Google search engine works, how to appear across Google, and then recap and give you some additional resources. So looking forward to all of that. And real quick, as I said, I just want to share a little bit about the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center. So the Small Business Development Center is part of public service and outreach for the university system. And if you're not familiar with public service and outreach, you might have heard of Ag Extension or Marine Extension. So these are all of the units that help people in the community, and we do the same thing for small businesses in Georgia. And what we do is to provide tools, training, and resources to help small businesses grow and succeed. We do offer no-cost consulting services, and these vary widely depending on what our small business needs at the time. So just an example, some of the things we can help with would be strategic planning to help businesses grow, capital acquisition to help businesses start or expand. We can assist with accounting and finance, and that might be cash flow analysis or helping you look at your QuickBooks and understand what your numbers mean. Certainly marketing strategy, and you're going to get a good dose of that today with Nadia. She's our resident expert. We do help businesses start, but we also have an international trade specialty office, and that's really great if anyone's interested in exporting or importing. We have a procurement office, and that is also our Office of Minority and Women Business Development, and then specialty business management offices for pharmacy and veterinarians. If you're not from the local area, which I think most of you are, but maybe you have friends across the state, you can assure them that there's help for them out there as well. We have 18 offices across the location. Locally, we have the Savannah and the Statesboro office. And together, we're called the Southern Coastal Team, and we cover 13 counties. So we have 5 consultants, including Nadia and myself, to assist small businesses. And we have a program coordinator who keeps all of us straight. So how do you work with us? Well, first, if you're interested in learning more information, you can find us at georgiasbdc.org. Find your local office. For most of you, it would be us, and reach out and simply make an appointment. And that's when you can meet with a consultant, and we will come up with a game plan depending on what you're trying to accomplish. In addition to meeting with a consultant, we have all types of training available on our website, and all of this is really designed to help you meet your individual business goals. And with that, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to turn it over to Nadia. Hi, Nadia.
Hi, Becky. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. So now let us talk about all things Google, or as much as we can fit in before 1 o'clock. So we're going to start with how Google search works. This is really important because if you want to get noticed on Google, you have to understand how it works first. So we're going to have a really interactive session today. I don't want you guys to get bored or fall asleep. So we are going to be doing some polls. And by polls, I mean I have questions I'm going to present on the screen, and I want you to let me know in chat what you think the answer is. So our first poll for today is, how many Google searches do you think happen each day? So the wonderful folks I've got on the line with us live today, I want you to let me know in chat how many Google searches you think happen every day. So I'll give you a minute to get those answers in. Becky and Kate, feel free to. Oh, thank you, Becky, Morgan. Thank you. We've already got some folks answering. I really appreciate you. I will give you just a few more seconds to guess. So we're hearing in the billions, we're hearing in the millions. Any other guesses? 15 billion. Christy herself, or himself or theyself, they do 1 billion of the searches on their own. If you were live with us today, you would see all this fun chat going on. So I want to present you now with the answer. There are actually 5.6 billion searches that happen every day. And why this is so important is because for you, we're really hoping you're coming at this from the perspective of a current or aspiring business owner. Every one of those Google searches is an opportunity for you to connect with a potential customer. So think about this. Have you recently made a larger purchase in terms of dollar amount? So thinking about a new phone or TV or even a car. So chances are most of you actually searched first online to learn more information about that product. So maybe you were doing some reading about customer reviews or looking up warranty information or doing some price shopping. We all utilize the vast world of the internet to help us when it comes to selecting new products. And the takeaway of that is that consumers have a lot of information about businesses and products before they even reach out to companies. So you want to be thinking about your website as your business's new front door. So however they find you, however they contact you, they've probably done a lot of research beforehand. So it's really important that that online presence is up to snuff, or another competitor could beat you out. So another thing I want to mention is that we have our amazing e-commerce businesses, and we have brick and mortar. We have some that do both. And I want to let you know that both are very relevant right now still. Many people start their shopping journey online, and they actually end it and make that purchase in stores. So all of this information is valuable no matter where you are selling your product. So I also want to just let you know that research has shown that people are actually more concerned with their need in the moment than with any particular brand. And why is this so important? Well, that means that even if your brand is brand new, just a relatively unknown, you have got a chance of capturing a potential customer if you have your search engine optimization going well for your business and you're meeting that customer where their need is when they're searching online. So with all that being said, I hope you understand, number one, having a website is very important, but let's talk about how you can actually be found and how Google search works. So the first thing to understand about this is that when Google conducts a search, it is searching the information that it has indexed. It is not every piece of information that was just submitted as a new page to a website. This is Google's index of the web. And so the way to think about this is that the web is like an ever-growing library, and it's filled with billions and billions of books. And a book represents a website, and the different pages of each book represent the pages of each website. But there's no card catalog for those of you who are familiar with that. There's no central database. So how in the world are people able to find what they're looking for online with these billions and billions of pages? So that is really where Google search comes into play. And so Google's job is to be this voracious reader who goes from page to page, book to book, categorizing things as quickly as it can. And so Google finds information on the web by sorting through billions of sites and pages and then showing people where to find the answers they're looking for. And to do this, Google uses a web crawler. It's also known as a bot, but I don't want you to be afraid of the word bot. This is a good bot. And this good bot is called Googlebot. And so Googlebot starts with a list of URLs, and it visits these sites, and it's looking for new links to add to that index, plus changes to the websites and dead links. And it's following from page to page all throughout the internet to pull as much information as it can back to its index. So we have this library, Googlebot is reading it, and then it actually processes each page it indexes. It's taking note of important information from keywords to website freshness, and it's storing that information. And so this index that I keep referring to is kind of like the index in the back of a book. So it has an entry for every word seen on every indexed web page. So that's huge. It is ever growing, and this index contains hundreds of billions of web pages. And every time a person searches Google, the search is looking through this information stored in this gigantic index. So now that we know we need a website and Googlebot creates an index, what actually happens when someone searches? So we learned there are 5.6 trillion searches that are happening, and there are 5.6 billion searches happening every day, and there are trillions of searches happening every year. And so it can be kind of hard to wrap your mind around that number. So a way to think about it is like this. Are you ready? That was 1 second. And Google just processed about 40,000 searches. So taking that trillions of searches that happens every year, every second, there's 40,000 happening. So for each of the corresponding search results pages, how did Google decide which websites and resources to display? This is so important. Well, these happen through Google's algorithm, and it has more than 200 different factors or signals, and that's how you really get to learn where these websites can appear when you are searching. And some of the biggest signals that Google looks at is location, language, the type of device being used, and keywords. So it's also looking for things like the freshness of the website. So another key takeaway from today is that you cannot just create it and forget it. You can't just set it and forget it. You have to be updating your website frequently with new original content. That is actually going to get Google to see your page in a new light. Its bot is going to see your page in a new light, and it can help you rise the ranks of those Google search engine results. So Googlebot has done its job. It has indexed, and after you search, it has searched its index, and then it is going to identify the best set of results based on those 200 plus signals. And we talked about some of the top ones that are important for those. And we'll talk about more in a few more slides in the future. And so after all of that happens, you are going to see this information presented to you in these Google search results pages. And all that talk I just did, all of those search results, that happened in a fraction of a second. So it is quick technology. And let us pause here for another poll, a question I'm going to pose to you. And if you're live with me today, answer in the chat. When you search Google, do you search by typing in a word, a phrase, or a question? I personally remember when we utilized Google, when we utilized search engines that weren't Google, like Ask Jeeves, and we asked the entire question. So tell me in chat, are you asking the entire question? What are you using? So I'm reading phrase, questions, phrase, or question. Great, yes. So the reason that I ask this is because it leads me into this next part of understanding how Google search works. So for most people, just as I'm seeing for our folks who are live with us today, when someone searches Google, they typically type in a phrase or a question that's describing what type of information they want. And that is called a search query. So what Google's job is to show the most relevant information on the search results pages so that the searcher finds what they're looking for. And in today's world, the consumer is really searching to find exactly what they're looking for without making too much effort. So let's talk about the components of this Google search results page. So the tips that we're going to focus on for today's webinar, for today's session, today's lunchtime topics, we're really going to be focusing on organic search. And there's just two types of search. There's paid and organic. And if you can tell, the paid is something that an advertiser has put money behind, and organic is the complete opposite. That is something that is being pulled up, not thanks to dollars, but thanks to someone's time and effort on their website. So the information that you're going to see about each website, as you're seeing on the example page here, there are multiple pieces to it. And the very top that is highlighted here in blue is the URL. And so that's something that you have registered, you've got your domain set up with. And then the next thing you are going to see are page titles. And I'll talk about this in the future of this presentation as something that you can optimize. And I'm going to mention it again here. So page titles are something that are either set automatically by your content management system, so WordPress, Wix, whatever platform you're using, but you can change it. And you can use it to include keywords that entice people to click on your link. And I highly recommend you do that. The same thing is true for page titles. So, page descriptions. So that's something that can be automatically generated for you, but I want you to take control of that. I want you to go into your website platform, and you can do a quick Google search of how to do this. So you can say, if your platform is Weebly, you can say Weebly update page titles or Weebly update descriptions. And then you can use that as an area where you really urge people to take the next step and do click on your link because you have the information and the keywords that they're looking for. The next thing that you're going to see, it depends on the search, but oftentimes on the right-hand side, you will see a Google My Business profile. That's a free tool, and I will be telling you more about that today. A few more things you might see, there are shopping ads and text ads, and they can kind of blend in sometimes, especially those text ads, but they are always going to have the term ad next to it. So you can look for that to see what is paid versus what is organic. And then lastly, at the very bottom of the page, you are going to see related searches. And the reason that this can be very important for business owners as they are seeking to rise the ranks in the search engine results is these can all be potential keywords for you. So if you have typed in a search and it relates to your business and you scroll down to the very bottom and you see these related searches, these might be keywords or ideas for keywords that you could include on your website. And that is something that you want to make sure you're doing in a conversational way on your website. You do not want to just have an entire paragraph that is just keywords and it doesn't make sense. People don't like that and Google doesn't like that. Okay, so I'm going to stop there for a few questions if we have any, and if not, we'll move on to our next section. But just as kind of a recap, we've talked about how Google search works, and we are now going to dive in on how you can take advantage of Google search and how you can appear in Google search. So seeing and hearing no questions, we're moving on along. So we've got to be interactive. So our next poll, our next question is asking about this Google business profile. My business owners out there who are with me live, have you claimed your Google business profile? Yes or no? Yes, way to go, Kate. Very proud. I would expect nothing less. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. No, that is okay. And you want to. I'm so glad that you want to because you should, and I'm going to show you how. Okay, so let's move right along. So this is one of the most important slides in terms of search engine optimization, getting noticed on Google. So I'm just going to pause for a second. This is, of course, being recorded, but if you want to take any notes, make sure you have got that either pen and paper or that digital technology pulled up. So what we're talking about now is tips for appearing in Google search results. So these are relatively non-technical, and this is the slide that is most important. So the first piece of that I already talked about. So regularly publishing relevant original content. It should be useful, information-rich, clear, and accurate. Every time you hit update or submit, after Google does its indexing, right? Googlebot comes and reads your site. It sees that it's new. It sees that it's fresh. It gives you another point, and all those points go to making you rise in the search results rankings. So you want to include keywords. We talked about that earlier. I'd highly recommend starting a Word document that includes keywords that you want to appear for when people search. And it can be something as broad as yoga poses, and it can be something as specific as yoga poses for couples in the Midtown Savannah area. So you can have as many keywords as you want, but you want to think about prioritizing them. And then you want to think about where they can work organically on your website. And so it can typically make sense for it to go on the home page or one of your other pages. But a little pro tip that is not on the slide, you'll just hear it from me, is actually utilizing an FAQ page. So if you have a keyword that you want to incorporate into your website, you can utilize that as the question on a frequently asked questions page. You can utilize that as the answer on a frequently asked questions page, and then you can reverse engineer to think about what question you could pose that would give you that answer to include that keyword. I want you to always lead with your most important information. That is also another key point for making sure that your website is doing what it is supposed to do. So for example, if your goal is to get people to call your business, I want that to be at the very top of your website. If your goal is for people to shop and buy a product, we should see a photo of that product, and we should see a call to action button, which is just that text with a different colored box behind it that says shop now, buy now, click to see this product. Bulleted lists are another thing that can be really helpful. Think about what we tend to do on our own phones. We tend to scroll, we tend to read less. So having bulleted text instead of just paragraphs and paragraphs of text makes it easier for people to understand and to actually grasp. So there is no rule of thumb in terms of how often you should update your website, but just remember the more frequently you update it, the more likely it will appear higher in search results rankings. Also, be sure that you are keeping your content well organized. Think about if you have been to a website and it has 12 different tabs across the top, 12 different links to other menu items. It can be really confusing to know where to go. So if you have multiple products or services, those can all live under the products or services tab, and you can have multiple pages under that. Be thinking about the human experience, not what Google would want, because Google is so advanced now that it is thinking more and more like a human. If you're struggling with any of these and you really just haven't been able to take a step back from your website to really see how a user would understand it, ask a friend, ask a family member, ask a potential customer to just give you feedback on your website and how easy it is to use. So every page includes a title and description. What I showed you earlier was that actually coming from the home page, your snippet that is coming up in Google search results that has your URL, your title, and your description. Your home page has that, and every other page does. And content management systems, your website platform, they let you change it. I recommend definitely changing it for your home page and also changing it for all the pages that you have. And you want to make sure that the words you use in there are keywords, they're descriptive, they're specific, and they're accurate. So all of that was talking about text. So now let's talk about some important pieces regarding search engine optimization for images. This is so important because, again, we are used to being more visual when it comes to the internet. So images should definitely be clear and in focus. It's much preferred to have real photos versus stock photos. Also, make sure that you add descriptions to your images. You may see those as alt tags or alt text, and there's two important reasons for this. Number one, it's really helpful for people who may be visually impaired. And number two, it is also great because Google reads those words that you put as a description for that photo, and it can be a great place to add more keywords. The last piece about images that is really important is their size. And so it can be a little technical, but there's really two things to remember. Number one, you want to be looking for something that is more high resolution than an iPhone or a mobile device photo, but is less high resolution than a photo taken by a professional photographer. You want it to be about 150 pixels per inch. Don't worry if that's too complicated. The bigger thing is to know there are plugins, extensions, applications you can add to your website that will automatically optimize your images for the web. And so that is something that I really recommend, especially for folks who have a ton of product photos, or if you're a photographer, add that plugin and it'll save you a lot of time. The reason why that image size is so important is because of a couple statistics. So image size can really help determine whether your page or pages load quickly or slowly. And the stats that I want to talk about are the probability of a bounce, so that someone will just leave your site within less than 60 seconds of reaching it. That probability of a bounce increases 32% as your page load time goes from 1 to 3 seconds. 1 to 3 seconds. And it's even more tough for a mobile device. So 53% of visits are abandoned if the mobile site takes longer than 3 seconds to load. Okay, so now that we know how Google search works, we have some search engine optimization tips. I want to talk about these amazing free tools. So this first one is Test My Site. So this one, you can either Google Test My Site or go to g.co/testmysite. And all you have to do is enter your website, and it will tell you how quickly your website loads from mobile devices. And you can see we really actually want things to load on the web in 2.5 seconds or less. After that, you are really losing audience very quickly. So optimizing for load time matters, because for every second delay in a mobile page load, conversions can fall by up to 20%. And what this website does, it doesn't just say, oh, here is your load speed and good luck on optimizing that, good luck on decreasing the time it takes to load. It actually gives you free recommendations for how you can optimize your website so it loads faster. Most of those do revolve around the size of images. Another free tool we have out there is Search Console. This can look a little more complicated, but I promise you, if you just take a moment to Google how to use Search Console, it will be very helpful for you. So some of the things that you can do with it, you can make sure that Google can access your site. You can submit new content and remove content you don't want shown in the search results. So for example, when you press publish on a new page, instead of waiting for Googlebot to take its own time to re-index your page and add it to the information it has stored, you can click submit for indexing right there. And you can really change how quickly your new information on the web is published to Google. And another thing it can do, it can monitor your site for problems. So I know that one of the most frustrating things can be when you click on a website page and it takes you to that 404, that broken link. You can see all of those in Google Search Console, and it can help you resolve them. So let's take a look at another free tool. You've probably heard about Google Analytics. Again, this is another one that I want you to take a moment to stop and breathe and understand that this information you can get a handle on. Just do a quick Google search and you will find out some of the top things to look at for your Google Analytics. But simply getting set up there and clicking around, it's really quite easy to find some basic information about who is coming to your site and where they are coming from. And then if you just take some time, you can actually see where they are going on your website. So if they start at your home page, which other pages they're going to before they finally end their journey on your website. So again, it can take a moment for you to just breathe through all of the data, but I promise you it is so important and it is free. So please take time to utilize this tool. And the last one we're going to talk about, I'm going to do a bit of a deeper dive on. So this is a Google My Business profile. So let's go ahead and get into it. When you head to google.com/business and you go ahead and you register your website on there or you claim your business page, this is what you're going to come to. So I'm going to click the play button here and you're going to see this is the back end. And this is something that I actually recorded on our own site. So on the left-hand side, if you click on info, this is where you want to start. And you want to fill out every single one of these areas. When you click on that pencil, and I want you to go down and make sure that you have included everything from service areas to whether or not you are closed on Christmas Day. This is really important because this information, it stands out because it's on the right-hand side of your business profile in the Google search results. And oftentimes people go right there. They don't go to your website. They'll click to go to your website or see more information from your business profile. So it's very important to have this up to date. So let's keep going. So making sure that you've got all of this information up to date. This attributes here, it's going to change and look different based on your category of your business. But this is an area where you can add things like veteran-owned, minority-owned, women-owned. And it will not add a badge to your business profile. You actually won't see it on your business profile, but it goes into Google search results. So if someone were to search for keywords related to your business and then type in woman-led and you had that listed on your profile, you would be more likely to show up in those search results. There are just a few more areas on here that I really want to highlight. So this is just making sure that you look at all the different pieces of info. And then when you are done with that, I want you to make sure that you go over, and I'm going to click forward a little. We are going to go over and click on post. Oh, and I think it went a little too far. So let me take a moment so you can see that, and we'll click play. So when you click on post on the left-hand side, and let's go back, you'll see all of these different areas that you can add. You can add a product or an event, an offer, a COVID-19 update. What I want you to do twice a month at least is click on add update. And that is going to be an area where you can add anything that you have posted to social media. It's typically something that is relevant to add an update to your business profile. When you do that, it shows up on the business profile of Google and it makes you take up more space on that page, and it's free advertising space. So go the next step, add photos, add posts, and make sure you're doing that at least twice a month so you can make your business stand out on Google. The last piece here that is really important in terms of figuring out how people are finding you. You don't even have to dive into Google Analytics. Let's click play on this and we will head on over to Insights on the left-hand side. Give my mouse a second to catch up with it. When you click on Insights, you can actually dive into what people are doing when they find your profile. My favorite is to come over, you saw me click on See New Profile Performance, and then look at this searches triggered your business profile. And you can actually scroll to the bottom of that and click on See More, and you're going to see what happened based on the time frame that you selected on the previous page. You're going to see what searches triggered your business profile. And this can help you see what people are looking at when they are coming to your business profile. Maybe these are some keywords that you want to add to that list to add to your website. So those are my big recommendations for your Google profile. Again, completing the info, all of it, making sure that you update your posts and your photos at least twice a month, and then check out your insights. Do that at least monthly to figure out what people are doing to find you and what they do once they find you. So I know that was a lot of information, so I'm going to pause now for questions if we have any out there. I'm seeing someone had to leave. We do miss you. Hope that you're seeing this now again recorded. But yes, Kate is wonderful enough to have all this information that will be coming to you digitally. And I am going to, seeing no questions in the chat, just show you a little bit of recap and resources. So here are your action items, your next steps, your homework. Taking a look at your website, you want to make sure that it is search friendly, it includes keywords, and it is optimized for all devices. People are looking at your website from high resolution, HD, computer monitors to tiny phones. So make sure you're seeing it from all perspectives. Make sure you have those keywords on there. Also, make sure you're taking advantage of all the free business tools that Google has. So we talked about Test My Site, we talked about Google My Business and Google Analytics. The next slide has all those links. If you can't remember them, you can just Google it. And then the last piece is after you have done all that you can in the free world, so in terms of organic search results, in terms of that search engine optimization, utilizing all these tools and techniques, then consider looking at ads. So Google Ads is a really great place to compete for the search engine impressions that you want. And that is something that our office can actually help you get set up with. Lastly, I have got all these links on here, and this information will be provided to you. So no need to write any of this down, but I am going to just wrap it up with time for questions. So if there are any out there, I will be looking at the chat. And also, Kate, if you have any questions, I will just turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Yeah. I'm sorry, my dog is in here making a lot of noise. So if you hear that, I'm trying to get him out of the room. Someone's got a question in the chat. Let's do that first.
Okay.
What is the best way to pick keywords? Any fresh ideas? That's from Christy.
Okay, so Christy, this is going to depend on your company and what your industry is, but I've got a little pro tip for you. So keyword surfer, I'm going to type that in the chat here. And if you are watching and you're not live, you can actually start Googling this. Keyword surfer is something that Google Chrome has as an extension. And I know it can sound kind of complicated, but it's something that you can add to your web browser, your Google Chrome browser. And it will actually show you how many people are searching for a different keyword. And then you can see a list of keywords below it and see that search volume. So for example, Christy, I talked about yoga earlier. If your business was all about yoga classes, if you typed in yoga classes and then you let that auto predict from Google populate under it, you can see how many searches are there for each of those words. And you can look and you can prioritize which keywords might be most valuable for you. And so there are the keywords that you want to focus on at first are not the ones that have millions of searches on them. Now that is definitely something that you want to add to your keyword list, but you want to be thinking about something that has maybe 100,000 searches or less, 1,000 searches or less, because what you want to focus on is getting to the very top of the listing for your keywords. So instead of getting to the top of yoga poses, which has 96 million searches every month, maybe yoga poses Savannah or yoga poses Georgia, which has fewer searches. So utilizing things like keyword surfer, and there's also, remember that related searches at the bottom, that can help you think about different words that would be relevant for your search engine optimization. And then don't forget, before you tackle those behemoth words that have millions of searches, make sure that you're focusing on those localized ones, because as you guys showed me, most of you are searching for phrases and you're searching for questions. So people are searching for those more detailed, long tail, they're longer keywords. So don't be afraid of those. Okay, any other questions out there?
Dive in. My mute keeps going back and forth. It's in and out, in and out. Christy said, brilliant, thanks. Okay, so the debate about social media versus having a website, because now a lot of people, everything is being, a lot of things are being sold on social media. So some people might argue, why do I need a website when I've got my social media account and I can just sell directly from there, get followers, yada, yada. What is your take on that?
I want you to think about all of the different ways that someone might come to you. A lot of people might find you through your social media, but a lot of people might also want to find you through Google search, and they might want to find you through a brick and mortar store. So the moral of the story is to have multiple options for people to find you, but knowing that there are 40,000 Google searches per second, 5.6 billion searches per day, and trillions of searches per year. You are missing out on traffic if you don't have a website. And so I know what some of my clients will say to me is, oh, well, if you search for my product type, I come up on the first page somewhere towards the bottom and it links to my Facebook. That's not enough, because what you cannot do with those pages is you cannot optimize what it says on Google search. Remember those titles in blue and those, the URLs in blue, the title in green, and the description in gray. You can optimize those if you have a website. And if you have one Facebook page, you know what that is? That is one opportunity for you to end up in the search results rankings. If you have a website with 10 pages, you have 10 times more opportunities to show up in search results. Yes, you need it. You need a website. It does not have to cost you a lot of money or take too much time, but it is one of the top investments that I recommend for all of our clients, is to have that website. It's all part of a bigger digital marketing package. And if you're trying to compete, you're not just someone who wants to be doing this as a side hustle, you want this to be your full-time hustle. Think about that whole picture. Think about having a vibrant social media presence and a well-updated website. Let's see.
Great. Becky Beth said, if a business doesn't have a website, I am hesitant to do business with them. Leads to credibility issues for me. So yeah, I mean, I don't know one marketing specialist who would advise against a website these days, but like every once in a while you meet people who are hesitant to put, I don't need a website. Like you do need something if you're going to be, professional and get your name out there and let people know they can trust you, and communicate that through your website too, right? Like, so, okay, another question. Say you don't have maybe you work from home, or you don't have maybe you don't have a physical address that you want to share out there. What do you say about people asking, do I need a physical address to have a Google My Business profile?
You actually don't. And let me show you just a few slides back. If you remember, this was the video that was showing you all the different areas of Google My Business. So let's dive into this info area. At the very top of it, let me click play. At the very top of it, you see this address, and right underneath it, you see service areas. So if you do not have a physical address, that's fine. You can click on that pencil there, and in small text at the very bottom, you can say, I do not have a physical address, and it will not list that. Please, if you are working from your home, do not have people having access to your home address on the website. There is no need for that. And no, it does not make you look less professional if you do not have a physical address. If you're so concerned about that, there are some options for you. You can utilize different mail services to have that address. You don't need one, and you definitely don't need one on your Google business profile. The area I want you to focus on, physical address or not, is service areas. So my folks who are on this call, I'm assuming that a lot of you are from the local area. And if you're not, you have a local area. And I want you to be thinking about what different zip codes, not just the city or the state that you want to target. You can put those in there, but think about down to the zip code. And let me tell you why this is important. When someone searches for whatever product or whatever service near me, have you ever wondered where that near me comes from? It comes from this. It comes from service areas in your Google profile. And it can also come from if Google knows where you're located in Savannah and your website says things like, we serve the Savannah, Georgia area, that's where it's all tied in. So you don't need a physical address, and you do need to fill out service areas.
Okay, great. So in that last step you talked about, after you've, exhausted all the free things you can do and it's time to look into paid advertising, what do you recommend a budget for a business that wants to get into online advertising? Like what would a recommended number or percentage be?
So if you're doing something like social media advertising, I have worked with clients and we start out with $25 a week to test the waters, to see how things are going and to see if that ROI will work out. Typically it does. Typically they make back that $25 and they make money on top of it. Google is a little bit different. You typically need a little larger of a budget to play on Google because you are competing against some heavy hitters and the way that their algorithm is structured. Now, what that number looks like is actually something that you're going to have to do a little bit of research yourself through Google. And one of the easiest ways to do it is to go onto Google Ads, and you can fill out a little bit of information about your industry and it will show you what your competitors are spending. And you really want to think about a few things. So you want to think about what your competitors are doing, but also what makes sense for you. So if you have a company and you have a good handle on your financials, which I hope that you do, you want to be thinking about, okay, I want to spend 3% of my monthly budget on marketing. And of that 3%, I want this much to go towards social media or online advertising. Another way you can figure out what percentage that would be is to search for your industry in Google and then ask about marketing percentages for that based on revenue. And so basically it can seem kind of vague, but typically you're looking at spending a couple $100s a month on that if you want to be really successful, but it depends on industry.
Great. So if people want to go deeper on this subject with you guys, what's the best way for them to learn more information on this subject and also the SBDC?
Yes, of course. So all of that information can be found on our website, and that is georgiasbdc.org/southern. Again, all of this information is going to come to you thanks to the magic of technology and Kate, but all of our contact information is here. We would love to work with you, no cost as a consulting client, or we have classes that range from no cost to costing a little bit of money so we can cover our costs. And just want to thank you for having us today, Kate. Thanks for being my partner in crime, Becky, and thanks to everyone who joined us live, or if you are if you're looking at this in the future, I hope everything's going well for you.